Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Brand new information, 8 o'clock advisory in. The storm is weakened, but only slightly. Still winds at 155, a powerful Category 4. We'll talk about when the worst arrives on the Florida coast.
And the time is now to evacuate Florida. There are thousands, if not millions, of folks who still have not gotten out of that state. We'll update you as the hurricane is bearing down on the West Coast.
And as Milton approaches Florida, it is set to make landfall overnight. And the time for people to leave is now. You're looking live at RDU, where we are tracking the travel effects here locally. Delays, cancellation, all that we are tracking here at WRAL News at Fox 50. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. I'm Chris Levingood.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey. Yeah, we have to start with weather. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner tracking Milton. I mean, it downgraded to a 4, but this is still a very, very dangerous storm.
It's a real subtle difference there. Winds at 155. It had winds at 160 and the 2 a.m. advisory. So not much change, especially when you're talking about such a massive storm. But you can see how it changes the way it looks. We had a very symmetrical storm with a well-defined eye earlier, and it's starting to look a little bit more ragged. It's not likely that it will regain Category 5 strength, but not out of the question. It may continue to weaken some as it moves closer to the coast. It's moving a little faster northeast at 16 miles per hour compared to 14 miles per hour. Let's take a look at Florida. Lots of rain started to fall overnight, and boy, we're starting to see some heavier rain bands around Tampa, Palm Bay, there, Deltona, and we've also had multiple tornado warnings in the southern part of the state as some of those rain bands are moving onshore. You can see Category 4 here. That's going to be 2 a.m. As that storm moves onshore. The center of circulation is when we'll see the strongest winds, but most of the storm surge could end up happening, starting in the next 6 hours or so, and then, of course, overnight tonight. We take a look at downtown Raleigh, just peaceful and quiet, 53 degrees, our dew point 50, so nice fall feel. Still some 40s out there, 49 in Goldsboro and Southern Pines, and 43 in Roxborough right now. We'll see a pleasant 75 this afternoon, but watch for some clouds to roll in. That'll be some cloud cover. We're not going to see any rain bands from Milton, but we may see some cloud bands, and I'll show you how long that will last coming up.
Well, Elizabeth, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. Let's get to some things that you should know about, particularly if you're getting ready to head out. This is what I want to bring your attention to. This crash on Capitol Boulevard in northbound lanes heading toward Wake Forest, but the problem is those southbound lanes. That's a usual morning congestion that we see coming in from Wake Forest this morning. You can see the huge slowdown that's causing Lewisburg Road. Similarly, we see that traffic all the time in the morning. Down around Holly Springs, this is a crash that's been really been a trouble spot this morning that's causing some major delays on Highway 55 all the way back into Fuquay Arena on Broad Street. A lot of people are using Main Street as an alternate route. You can see that's backed up as well, 10 to 15 minutes tops. A couple of things that are happening on the Beltline. A crash that was on Capitol Boulevard has cleared, but you can still see the lingering delays there in those westbound lanes. This crash on I-40 westbound near Brentwood Road, you can see the huge delays it's causing there on the Beltline this morning. As we widen out the view, let you know what's happening on the Beltline. That's the northern loop of the Beltline. You're looking at a 5 to 6 minute delay there. Interestingly enough, once you get to I-40 and Ridge Road, traffic is moving nicely, so you just have to get past that area around I-440 and 87 this morning.
All right, thank you, Ken. People in Florida have less than 24 hours until Hurricane Milton makes landfall. This is a live look this morning in Tampa as people are getting out of the path of the catastrophic storm headed their way. It's expected to hit the Gulf Coast as a major hurricane, Category 3 or worse. Right now it's a 4. Shelters in the Tampa area say they still have space for people and pets, and they warn the time to escape the path of the storm is quickly running out. According to Gas Buddy, at least 21% of Florida's gas stations are completely out of fuel. That includes nearly half in the Tampa area. Power line workers are coming from as far away as California to prepare for widespread and lengthy outages.
And Jeff Hogan in the WRAL Live Center. It is not the supply of that gasoline that is the problem. It is the demand and getting it to people ahead of this storm surge that is expected to come through here. There are 5,000 National Guard troops ready to go and another 3,000 on standby if need be. That is coming from Governor Ron DeSantis, who also says there is time still this morning for folks to get out of the affected areas and get to safer areas, get up the coast, get inland, get somewhere where you can stay dry, and or if not, get out of the state. Also, there is time to get to local shelters as well, because there is still space there and there is still time before this catastrophic storm hits. I want to give you a couple of looks around. We saw that shot in Tampa. I want to show you the roads right now. I-75 northbound getting out of Tampa. This is a far different look than yesterday. A lot of folks paying heed to what the warnings were of getting out of there. It is light traffic right now. Folks still have a chance to get out without hitting much traffic. They can find gas and move on their way.
They're going to leave. Now is the time. Thank you, Jeff. Just a few minutes ago, more airports in Florida have closed. That's creating challenges for people trying to escape Milton, and this is affecting flights at RDU. As WRAL's Kelsey Coffey explains, we have seen a lot of people arriving from Florida to get to safety.
Time is running out for people to evacuate. Several airports in Florida are closed today, including Orlando, Lakeland, and Fort Myers. And we're starting to feel those ripple effects here at RDU. There are several cancellations already. People in Florida were booking last-minute flights ahead of Milton making landfall. We're expecting this storm will impact airports nationwide. Most of the flights that are canceled here at RDU today are Florida flights. We spoke with Raleigh native Lauren Tuck. She now lives in Tampa. Tuck was able to fly back home to Raleigh after her original flight was canceled, but some people weren't as lucky.
I'm really nervous. I know a lot of other Floridians are nervous as well. Just be safe, escape if you can, but I understand a lot of people can't. Even some people I work with, they don't have the resources. They're not able to leave. So thoughts and prayers.
We'll be keeping track of cancellations and delays here at RDU throughout the day. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News at RDU.
And today, more help from the state for people recovering from Helene in western North Carolina. Lawmakers will roll out a $273 million relief package. WRAL's Nick Perlin is outside the state legislative building this morning. And Nick, this will get funding immediately to communities that need it the most.
And Michelle, that's the big thing here, getting cash in the hands of people who need it very quickly. As we know, Helene caused so much damage to the western part of our state. But that plan will be unveiled today as state lawmakers plan to roll out $273 million in relief to the western part of the state. House Speaker Tim Moore says it's just meant to address immediate cash needs and getting cash in the hands of people who need it quickly. Senator Kevin Corbin says this aid will help unblock roads and get utilities up and running again across the 8 rural counties he represents in western North Carolina.
Certainly, this first round is not intended to compensate for total damages. That we're not ready to do that yet. So this is just to kind of help with cash flow.
It's almost akin to the Marshall Plan after World War II in some of these communities where literally the communities are destroyed. And it's a matter of going back in and rebuilding them.
Now, that $273 million is just a small part of the $5 billion North Carolina has in its savings, but we could see potentially more aid going to the western part of the state once we get a full understanding of just how bad the damage was from the storm. Of course, we'll keep you updated on everything that happens inside the legislature today on our website, WRAL.com. Live in Raleigh, Nick Perlin, WRAL News.
And today at 1:30, we'll get an update from state leaders about the recovery efforts from Helene. Governor Roy Cooper and EMS leaders will speak at the Emergency Operations Center in Raleigh. And yes, WRAL will be there. We'll ask questions about relief efforts, among other things. We'll let you know what they have to say in our newscasts, and they'll start at 4 p.m.
Well, this morning, we are learning that teachers across the state are coming together to push lawmakers to help schools and educators affected by Helene. The North Carolina Association of Educators is holding rallies at 25 schools across the state. In Wake County, they will happen at Enloe High in Raleigh and Fuquay-Varina Elementary School. They want lawmakers to give additional protections for schools, staff, and students in the hard-hit counties. That includes student meals, staff and teacher pay, and also school funding.
A family of 4 is among the people who have died in the western part of our state. This is from flooding from Helene in western North Carolina. Allison Wisely, her fiance, and 2 children, ages 9 and 7, they were killed in the storm in Burnsville. Loved ones say the family was trying to escape, but waters from the Tow River swept them away. The children attended North Buncombe Elementary School, and in a social media post, school leaders said they are heartbroken.
That is just heartbreaking. Well, this morning you'll need to be aware of more kids than usual walking to school because it's National Walk and Roll to School Day. Students at dozens of schools across Wake County will be participating, and the goal is to promote physical activity and to encourage families to consider alternative ways to get their kids to school.
Your time is 8:10. A mother and daughter who were stuck in Asheville for days during Helene are back home and facing another storm. Why they are staying put as Milton nears landfall.
And a brand new elementary school in Uvalde, Texas will honor the lives of students and teachers killed there in 2022. We'll explain the newest information about the building under construction.
Overnight last night, the rain bands started to move into Florida, and it is raining heavily, especially from Tampa northward. And then we've also had some tornado warnings that have popped up. We'll take a look at the latest 8 o'clock a.m. information and show you when the worst will hit.
Welcome back. 8:14 on your Wednesday morning as we take a live look right now. This is Tampa, Florida. You can see the water pretty choppy there, pretty hard to see the skyline as well. A lot of Florida already seeing the effects from Milton ahead of landfall. And meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner tracking Milton very closely. I think it's really important to not focus so much on the category because even if it hits as a 3, it's still going to be catastrophic.
It really is. It's all about the storm surge here. And Chris Michael's coming up in just about 1 minute to talk more about storm surge and what that means. But we're going to see a lot of water being pushed into the west coast of Florida. Already we're seeing some heavy rain, but we're talking about storm surge, which again, he's going to explain a little bit more coming up. We've also had a number of tornado warnings start to pop up just over the last 2 hours, especially closer to the southern tip of Florida. The new advisory at 8 a.m. has the storm at Category 4, but just barely. It's almost a Cat 5. Winds at 155, 157 is Cat 5. Moving a little faster, northeast at 16, and it's about 250 miles south of Tampa at this point. Winds at 130 when it makes landfall, but a lot of the worst of the storm happens ahead of the center. Once the center comes through, we see the strongest winds, but then conditions tend to improve somewhat. But this is going to be, a late evening, overnight kind of event for folks there on the west coast of Florida. Here's a look at what the potential landfall could look like. This is a look at our computer model. This is Futurecast, and you can follow the center of circulation. And right here is Tampa Bay, and the center is here. That's good news. Tampa is a heavily populated area. It's a major city. More people could be hurt or displaced there. Of course, you don't want to see it affect anyone, but it's just a little less population as you move farther south. And it looks like maybe that's where we would see the strongest storm surge. But no matter what, really from Tampa all the way down most of the coast there, it's going to be catastrophic. So we go to Chris now to talk a little bit more about storm surge and what it is.
And, as Michelle was saying, whether it's a Cat 3, Cat 4, the storm surge is going to be one of the big things that we track. You got to think Katrina at landfall was a Cat 3. And that storm surge was historic. This is literally the ocean that's being taken and put on land, and it kind of comes in waves, literally. It's not just going to be one big tidal wave that overtakes the city, but a lot of this has to do with how big the storm has gotten, and we've noticed that especially over the past several hours here. As it goes through different cycles, the size of the storm has gotten a lot bigger. So the surge is in response to the wind, that is in response to the lowering air pressure. So as it gets closer to landfall, the air pressure is probably going to be close to 940 to 950 millibars. That's very, very low and something you often see with hurricanes. But that wind, that's anywhere from 90 to 120 miles per hour around the center, is going to take all of that water and just kind of shove it on land. So that's some of the updated storm surge numbers, especially south of Tampa as you go to Sarasota. That's where things are going to be particularly dangerous in regards to the storm surge. But thankfully, Elizabeth, that's not anything we have to worry about on our coast, and the inland impacts hardly any.
We do have a little rain that shows up here in the next 7 days, but that's going to be early next week, and it's like about 1/100 of an inch. So not even the coast will have to worry about rain. The winds right here on the coastline, on shore, Kitty Hawk looking at maybe 35 mile per hour winds, around 25 in Wilmington. And we'll see a 15 to 20, 25 mile per hour wind gusts, mostly during the day tomorrow. And that's a lot of that is because we're going to see the difference in pressure between a high that's to our north and Milton itself. It's going to bring a northeasterly wind, and and cause some blustery conditions, gusts 15 to 25. At the coast, definitely some gusty winds, but not anything strong enough to cause any real damage. Rip currents, beach erosion, western North Carolina going to be fine. It'll be dry really all across the state, and it will be a little breezy back there across the mountains. For us right now, we're mostly seeing bright skies, a little bit of cloud cover in Fayetteville. Our temperatures this morning range from 43 to around 52, and we're looking at some chilly mornings. Tomorrow morning, 50, 46 on Friday morning, 48 on Saturday morning. So coldest air that we've seen in quite some time. Notice how we continue to have mainly dry conditions, a little bit warmer on Sunday at 82, Ken.
Elizabeth, happening now in the WRAL traffic center. A couple of things that's showing up on our live traffic sensors this morning that we want to bring your attention to. First of all, we're monitoring a serious crash on Sunnybrook Road near Pool Road. We're seeing a little bit of a slowdown at the intersection of Sunnybrook and Pool Road where that crash happened. So if you have an appointment maybe at Wake Med, you're navigating that area, just know you'll see some police activity in that area. You might have a little bit of a slowdown. So keep that in mind as you're about to head out. There's a crash on Wade Avenue in the eastbound lane near Blue Ridge Road. Not causing any major problems in the area, but just watch for law enforcement officers and be safe as you navigate that area. Isolating the Beltline this morning, you can see the usual congestion we see on the south side of the southern loop of the Beltline, as well as the northern loop of the Beltline this morning, particularly around the Capitol Boulevard, coming off of those I-87 southbound lanes. Here's a live look at 440 and Capitol Boulevard. You see the traffic is really, not really congested, but it's somewhat congested, but still moving along at a steady clip this morning. But you're looking at a 3 to 5 minute delay if you're in that neck of the woods. So listen, traffic is constantly changing. We see north and southbound lanes of I-885. Tune us in on the radio at 101.5 HD3. You can listen to us anywhere in the Triangle.
Thanks, Ken. New this morning, the Tropicana Hotel in Las Vegas is no longer standing after it was demolished to make way for a new Major League Baseball stadium. The implosion lasted less than 30 seconds. You see it right here. Crews stripped the walls and treated asbestos ahead of this demolition, and the site will be the area for the new Oakland A's baseball stadium, which is expected to be completed in 2028. Now that Tropicana is gone, the only standing strip resort from the 1950s is the Sahara.
A week ago, a woman and her daughter managed to get stuck in Asheville for 3 days during Helene, and now they have decided to ride out Milton together. Here's Renata Di Gregorio with that story.
You're just going to ride it out?
I don't think we have a choice at this point.
Norma Ray and her daughter Julia.
Single door? 12.
Feel like it's too late to leave Volano Beach and couldn't find a hotel that wasn't hours away.
I don't want to be out stuck on a freeway in the middle of a storm. I mean, I don't know. I don't know where to go.
They know what it's like to be stuck in a storm.
We were trapped for 3 days.
Last week, they were in Asheville, North Carolina during Helene.
It took 3 days to cut the trees down to get us out. So as soon as they cut the trees down, they told us that the road was failing and we needed to get out. So we got out, came here, and here we are again, a week later, doing it again.
The Rays aren't the only ones not leaving an evacuation zone. Rachel Peretz plans to stay.
One of my friends who's lived in St. Pete for probably better than 10 years has never evacuated and said she was going to Savannah, thought it was going to take about 6 hours, and it ended up taking 12.
How are you feeling about this storm?
Stressed out. We're really stressed out, but at the same time, we're hashtag St. Augustine strong.
Just load this last one up there. Ken Wood and his family showed up with a truck from his furniture store to bring sandbags to friends and neighbors. Like Wood, Peretz and the Rays are staying positive.
I'm keeping good thoughts for my friends and loved ones that are in the Tampa-St. Pete area. And keep a good thought for everybody.
Hopefully everyone's going to be okay. Fingers crossed.
That was Renata Di Gregorio with that story. A new elementary school in Uvalde, Texas will pay tribute to the victims of the 2022 Robb Elementary mass shooting. The school board approved that name last night, Legacy Elementary. The new school will have tributes to the 21 students and teachers killed at Robb Elementary. Legacy Elementary is under construction about 2 miles away from Robb Elementary. It will replace the old school, and the plan is for Legacy to be ready by next school year.
Today, the Harris nuclear plant in New Hill will test its sirens. The annual 3-minute siren is scheduled between 10 and 11 this morning. The test will ensure that they are functioning properly, and some of the 85 outdoor sirens will be tested more than once if there were a real emergency. In addition to the sirens, you'd see TV stations, including us, WRAL, broadcast the emergency alert system message for you.
Your time is 8:23. Help is on the way for people in western North Carolina struggling to recover from Helene. We'll talk about the new relief package expected to be unveiled today by lawmakers and the immediate needs it aims to address.
And it was a bumpy ride for hurricane hunters who traveled inside the eye of Hurricane Milton. We'll take a look at some of the footage they were able to capture.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Time now is 8:26. I'm Michelle McConaughey. A beautiful start to our Wednesday. A little chilly out there. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner has a look down Fayetteville Street.
It is beautiful. We've got gorgeous weather in our forecast for the rest of the weekend. Lots of sunshine as we look down Fayetteville Street from our Jimmy V cam. Our temperatures have been nice and cool this morning. It is still 46 in Lewisburg, 49 in Southern Pines, 47 South Hill. It's 51 in Fayetteville and 54 in Goldsboro. Perfect weather for exercising either this morning or this afternoon. Our high will only be 75 degrees. We may see a little bit of cloud cover streaming in late this afternoon and into tomorrow from Milton, and we'll see breezy conditions tomorrow, but no major impacts here. Ken.
All right, Elizabeth, we're going to start outside as well. Give our viewers an opportunity to see what's going on in the northern loop of the Beltline. This is the westbound lanes of the Beltline of I-440 and Capitol Boulevard. A little congested, but moving along at a slow, steady clip. You're probably looking at a 5-minute delay. This is what it looks like on our sensors this morning. The northern loop of the Beltline, the southern loop of the Beltline, the usual trouble spot on US 1, and of course I-885 in and out of Durham this morning. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, I'll have an update on Fox 50.
Thanks, Ken. State lawmakers plan to roll out a $273 million Helene relief package today. Lawmakers say it's just meant to address immediate cash needs. It's intended to help unblock roads and get utilities up and running again across the 8 rural counties in western North Carolina. And state troopers are working to learn what caused a car crash that killed a woman in Sampson County. It happened on US 421 near Clinton yesterday. Troopers say 77-year-old Donna Pierce drove off the road and ended up submerged in a creek. They say speed was not a factor in the crash. Next on Fox 50, how Hurricane Milton is impacting travel here in the Triangle.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
Here's a live look at the Tampa radar, and you can see how much rain is already falling in Florida. I'll show you when the worst of the storm gets there and what they'll see.
And Milton's outer bands have reached Florida right now, and there is time running out to escape that state. What hospitals are doing there locally in Florida to prepare for Milton's outcome?
Also, some much-needed relief for the western part of our state set to be unveiled today. The immediate needs, the $250 million aid package will help address. A lot of folks in the western part of our state need that money, so it is much needed. Thank you so much for joining us here on your Wednesday morning at 8:30. I'm Michelle McConaughey.
I'm Chris Levingood. Yeah, obviously Milton's what we're going to be talking about. Actually, I was talking to someone who's used to be at your station down there in Florida, saying they're concerned it may get flooded again. So I think that's a real concern for a lot of people. The flooding, the storm surge. Elizabeth Gardner is tracking that very closely in the WRAL Severe Weather Center.
Yeah, we started watching this, several days ago, and just knowing how bad this is going to be for the west coast of Florida and even the central part of Florida as well. This is the new information as of just 30 minutes ago from the National Hurricane Center. Winds at 155. That makes it a very strong Cat 4 down just a few miles per hour. It was 160 earlier as a Cat 5. It's moving northeast at 16 miles per hour, 250 miles away from Tampa. We'll zoom in and you can see, they just put a tornado watch up from Tampa southward. We've had all these tornado warnings that have been popping up, and they will continue to do that as the storm gets closer and those rain bands move inland. The storm may be Category 4 as it makes landfall, and that's likely to be overnight tonight. But we tend to see the worst of the storm before the landfall. We talk about landfall because that's when we'll see the strongest winds, which could be up to 130 miles per hour. But the storm surge will be ahead of it, along with the heavy rain, which has already started. And we're looking at minimal to zero impacts here. It's a pretty day for us. This is a downtown look at Raleigh from the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences, 53 with a dew point of 50. So it's cool out there right now. Our coolest spot is 43 and the warmest spot is 52 there in Clinton. But most of us are in the low 50s. A pretty afternoon too. High temperatures will be in the mid 70s. Now we will see some increasing clouds. We are not going to see any rain bands from Milton, but we'll start to see a little bit of cloud cover from Milton. I'll show you how long that will stick around. Coming up, Ken.
Elizabeth, all new into the WRAL Traffic Center. We're getting reports of a crash on I-40 in those eastbound lanes there in Orange County. It's not far from Old Highway 86 this morning. Right now, it's not causing any problems in the particular vicinity, but I'll keep an eye on it just in case you've got family coming in from all points west and heading east. Here's a serious crash we've been monitoring now on Sunnybrook Road near Pool Road. We're seeing a little bit of slowdown around the intersection of where that crash has happened. So just be careful as you navigate that area. Give law enforcement officers an opportunity to walk that crash scene safely. Here's a crash on Wade Avenue near Blue Ridge Road, not causing any major problems in that area, but you would see some police activity, and just be mindful of that. As we isolate the Beltline this morning, you can see the usual delays between Lake Wheeler Road and Gorman Street. Once you get past Gorman Street, it's clear sailing until you get past Jones Franklin Road, depending on where you're headed. That curve right there is the curves back east on 440. And of course, those northern lanes, you can see you're looking at a 3 to 5 minute delay. Here's a live look at I-440 and Capitol Boulevard. You can see the slowdown this morning. I'd say that's a 5 to 10 minute delay, depending on what time you get in there. But just know, as traffic changes, we'll keep you updated. Just listen to us at 101.5.3 anywhere in the Triangle.
Again, thank you. People in Florida in Milton's path have been warned. Leave while you can. What you're seeing behind me here is a live look at St. Petersburg, Florida. The rain hitting the lens there. You can see the boats in the marina. Actually, if our producer Natalie can hear us, we should record maybe a minute of this and revisit this tomorrow once landfall has been made. The potentially catastrophic storm is expected to make landfall overnight, in fact. This is set to bring dangerous storm surge and wind along with it. People are running into issues while trying to escape. For example, Gas Buddy reports that more than 21% of Florida's gas stations are without gas this morning. But to be clear, yesterday, the state's governor, Ron DeSantis, said there was no shortage of gas. Shelters in the Tampa Bay area say that they have still space available for people and pets. Several counties have issued curfews for storms that are expected tonight. Bridges connecting the Keys to the mainland are now only open for people leaving.
And what about the folks who can't leave, who aren't physically able to leave? That has Florida hospitals and healthcare facilities very concerned with the arrival of Milton coming in. Tampa General Hospital has a plan in place with an aqua fence that they have set up. It is set to withhold these hurricane floodwaters up to 15 feet of surge. Problem is, it comes at high tide as well, and they're worried that that could be overcome. Have you seen Hurricane Milton from space? Now you have. That is a look right there, a well-defined eye from all the way up in space. Take you over to Orlando here. Some folks who went to Orlando thinking they were going to have a Disney vacation there, saying that they are stuck. And another view of Orlando I want to show you right now, because that is all you can see of a shot in Orlando as the outer bands have certainly reached Florida and into the central part of Florida. On a normal day, you would see the air traffic control tower at Orlando's airport, which has been closed.
Thank you, Jeff. And that's right. Just a few minutes ago, it actually closed. More airports in Florida have closed, and that's creating challenges for people trying to escape Milton. This is affecting flights at RDU. And WRAL's Kelsey Coffey tells us we've seen a lot of people arriving from Florida to get to safety.
Time is running out for people to evacuate. Several airports in Florida are closed today, including Orlando, Lakeland, and Fort Myers. And we're starting to feel those ripple effects here at RDU. There are several cancellations already. People in Florida were booking last-minute flights ahead of Milton making landfall. We're expecting this storm will impact airports nationwide. Most of the flights that are canceled here at RDU today are Florida flights. We spoke with Raleigh native Lauren Tuck. She now lives in Tampa. Tuck was able to fly back home to Raleigh after her original flight was canceled, but some people weren't as lucky.
I'm really nervous. I know a lot of other Floridians are nervous as well. Just be safe, escape if you can, but I understand a lot of people can't. Even some people I work with, they don't have the resources. They're not able to leave. So thoughts and prayers.
We'll be keeping track of cancellations and delays here at RDU throughout the day. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News at RDU.
Meanwhile, researchers with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration got a close look at the inside of Milton. It was a bumpy ride for the crew as they flew through the storm over the Gulf of Mexico. These hurricane hunters fly through storms to get data to improve forecast accuracy. And what they learn helps better understand how tropical storms and hurricanes develop and evolve.
And the WRAL News app is your tool for live video, radar, and also storm updates. Make sure to have your notifications turned on for the latest alerts on Milton.
Today, a big new funding package to help people recovering from Helene in western North Carolina. State lawmakers will unveil a near $275 million funding package. Let's go ahead and bring in WRAL's Nick Perlin. He's outside the state legislative building this morning. And Nick, lawmakers are very clear. This is not the only bit of aid they're going to be getting.
And Chris, we could see a lot more aid going to western North Carolina, even though this plan is being unveiled at the legislature today. Now, state lawmakers are looking to roll out a $273 million relief package today for Hurricane Helene. House Speaker Tim Moore says it's just meant to address immediate cash needs and getting people the money that they need right now to help them get back on their feet. Senator Kevin Corbin says this will help him reopen roads and get utilities up and running across the 8 rural counties he represents in western North Carolina.
Certainly, this first round is not intended to compensate for total damages. That we're not ready to do that yet. So this is just to kind of help with cash flow.
It's almost akin to the Marshall Plan after World War II in some of these communities where literally the communities are destroyed, and it's a matter of going back in and rebuilding them.
Now, that $273 million is only a small part of North Carolina's $5 billion that it has in savings. But again, the main thing here is we could be seeing more aid going to western North Carolina once we see the real extent of the damage that was done from the hurricane. Of course, we'll be able to monitor everything that's going on here at the legislature all day, and we'll be sure to update you on our website, WRAL.com. Reporting live in Raleigh, Nick Perlin, WRAL News.
And this afternoon at 1:30, we'll get an update from Governor Roy Cooper and emergency management officials about the recovery efforts from Helene. They'll speak at the Emergency Operations Center in Raleigh. WRAL will be there asking questions, and we'll let you know what they have to say in our newscast starting at 4.
Your time is 8:39 this morning. Former President Donald Trump is slated to have a rally in Pennsylvania tonight. And in our area, the Team Trump bus tour is making stops today. The tour will stop in Fayetteville at Cumberland County GOP headquarters on East Russell Street. That's at 1 this afternoon. Then at 4, it'll stop at the Trump campaign office on Jeffries Road in Rocky Mount. Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds and other national Republicans will be on this tour. And Rocky Mount congressional candidate Lori Buckhout will join this event. But just keep in mind, you need to register for tickets on the Trump campaign website if you want to go. Kamala Harris's running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, will be in Arizona today. He'll have 2 events that he's attending. He arrived in Phoenix late last night. Harris is expected to be in Arizona for a rally tomorrow night. Meanwhile, Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, is also in Arizona today. He's there for an event. He'll be in Greensboro for an event that is happening tomorrow, and we're watching very carefully to see what unfolds during that event.
And coming up for us, it was a historic opening night to the NHL season. Just ahead, meet the new face behind the bench, who is unlike any before her.
Plus, we do want to give you a live look at Tampa this morning. You can see the rain on the lens, the ominous clouds there, folks. Milton is approaching. And the strength has changed at times the last couple of days. But meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner will track on where that stands right now and what places expect to get the worst of this. Get a live look at Naples, Florida, and Collier County. I've covered that area quite a bit when I worked in Florida. You can see where the water line from the ocean there clearly receding there as Milton approaches Florida. In fact, we're watching the radar in the Tampa Bay area where Elizabeth Gardner is looking right now. Again, Elizabeth, leaders in Florida saying people should leave now, like now.
At this point, it's almost too late. We already have tornado warnings that are popping up here in South Florida and a tornado watch from Tampa southward. So tornadoes are potentially popping up already. We're seeing rain bands moving on shore currently. And of course, this is just going to get worse. Most of the rain that we typically see with tropical systems happens ahead of the center of circulation. And, we talk about the center of circulation because it's something that we can quantify. The center of circulation arrives and, that's when the strongest winds happen. But a lot of the deadly and dangerous parts of the storm happen well before that arrives. 250 miles southwest of Tampa, Florida, moving northeast at 16 winds at 155. So it was 160 overnight. We're back down to a very powerful Cat 4 storm, and that's the way it's likely to make landfall, with winds potentially at around 130. Heavy rainfall, storm surge, though, is going to be the real thing that causes most of the issues. And we're going to talk about the storm surge and why that's going to be so deadly. We're going to end up as the storm moves toward Florida, it is pushing the water in front of it because it's a very powerful system. And so all that water pushes on shore, and there are going to be places where we see anywhere from around Tampa, adjusted now to around 5 to 10. It looks like the strongest storm surge now may be just south of Tampa, but it all will depend on exactly where the center of circulation makes landfall. If that center makes landfall just south of Tampa, then of course it's going to be the areas south of that see the worst of the storm surge. Storm surge means that's how high the water will be above sea level as that storm approaches. Also, very strong winds from Tampa southward, gusting up to 110. And then some other parts of even central Florida and the East Coast could be easily at hurricane force and stronger, again, up to around 110. So just a really difficult situation for those folks there in Florida. Here, it's a nice day. We're looking at mostly sunny skies, cool temperatures, 53 right now, the dew point of 50, so feeling very comfortable. 76 in Raleigh, 75 in Durham, 77 in Fayetteville, so feeling good out there. It'll be another chilly night. Might want to grab a jacket as you're heading out the door tomorrow morning. Low 40s in the north, low 50s in the south. And then today, late in the day, notice how we see cloud cover streaming in. This is cloud cover from Milton, but we're not going to see any rain bands here. We'll just see some cloud cover for this afternoon and tomorrow morning, and then we're back out to some sunshine. It'll be breezy tomorrow with some winds gusting 20 to 25 miles per hour as the storm moves a little farther north and interacts with a high pressure system that's up to our north. For coastal waters only, not onshore, gusts up to 50 miles per hour. That's just a warning. This is a tropical storm watch. Just a warning for folks who may be mariners, boaters, fishermen, that sort of thing. Tracking Milton, gusty winds at the coast, rip currents, beach erosion. For us, we're going to see gusts around 15 to 20, 25 miles per hour. It'll be breezy in the western half of the state, but it stays dry for us statewide. The coolest morning this week comes on Friday morning at 46 degrees. So I know I'll be grabbing my jacket.
As will I. Thanks, Elizabeth. Well, a tragic story from the western part of our state. 11 members of one family all died when their homes were destroyed by mudslides. The members of the Craig family lived in a group of homes in Buncombe County known as Craigtown. That area near Garin Creek is now unrecognizable after the flooding and mudslides from Helene. A close family friend of the Craigs spoke with WRAL about what they meant to the community.
They would do anything for you. They really do have servants' hearts. That's the best way I could put it.
A GoFundMe to help the surviving members with funeral costs and rebuilding efforts has raised more than $63,000. A driver is facing charges after a crash in Wake County that killed the passenger in the car. It happened on Rouse Road in Holly Springs just before 3 o'clock yesterday. Rouse Road was shut down for several hours. State troopers say neither the man driving nor the man in the passenger seat were wearing seatbelts. The driver ran off the road, crashed, and was later rushed to the hospital. Neither of the men involved have been identified. And if you're a parent, you'll want to know about the latest lawsuits against TikTok. 14 states, including North Carolina, filed lawsuits claiming that the social media platform harms children's mental health. The lawsuit claims that TikTok uses a system designed to keep children on the app as long as possible, which helps the company boost revenue from selling ads. The complaint also alleges that TikTok's so-called beauty filters, they can cause body image issues and other mental and physical health disorders. TikTok is also battling a law that could see it banned in the U.S. as soon as next year, as well as another lawsuit from the Justice Department.
An Afghan citizen living in Oklahoma is accused of plotting an Election Day terror attack. According to court documents, Nasir Tawhidi was planning this attack in the name of ISIS. Authorities say he intended to attack a large gathering and expected to die as a martyr. The Department of Justice says he was arrested while trying to buy semi-automatic weapons and ammunition.
Ethel Kennedy is in the hospital this morning after suffering a stroke. The 96-year-old Kennedy is the widow of Robert F. Kennedy. Her family said she had the stroke in her sleep yesterday. In 2014, Kennedy received the Presidential Medal of Freedom from President Barack Obama for her work in human rights, environmental protection, and social justice.
During the opening night of the NHL season, Jessica Campbell became the first ever female assistant coach in the league. Campbell was behind the bench for the Seattle Kraken as they took on the St. Louis Blues. She and incoming head coach Dan Bilesma previously coached together with a Kraken minor league team, and the Blues ended up on top, though, with a final score of 3-2.
I love that, yes. And the NHL's newest team is off to a hot start. The Utah Hockey Club won their first ever game last night, beating the Chicago Blackhawks 5-2 in Salt Lake City. The team used to be the Arizona Coyotes, but it is recognized as a new franchise. They are still working on finding a permanent name. The Carolina Hurricanes will take their first trip to Utah for a game November 13th.
Happening today, a bridge dedication will honor two late entrepreneurs. Transportation leaders will join the family of Nick and Mayo Body to dedicate the US 64 bypass bridge. That crosses over NC 58 in Nashville. The two brothers co-founded Body Noel Enterprises. It actually started in Fayetteville, if you did not know. It became the largest franchise company in the Hardee's restaurant chain. And the dedication is happening at 4 this afternoon.
This week's Teacher of the Week wears many hats at her school, but her most important title is teacher. WRAL's Ken Smith introduces us to a longtime educator who teaches from the heart.
So those of you that sit on the carpet when we're on the board, come sit on the carpet.
K.F. Goodalushan, or Ms. G as she's affectionately known, always knew she wanted to be a teacher.
Ever since I was little, I always played school with my friends, and I just loved school. I loved my teachers.
These self-affirming phrases on her door greet her students every day. She first volunteered as a parent at Southwest Elementary School in Durham when her son was in school here after teaching in other states. That was more than 20 years ago.
And so they knew that I had that background, and they asked me to come in and take the teacher's place who went on maternity leave, and they never got rid of me. I've been here ever since.
Along with her math teaching duties, she also heads up the school's Project Lead the Way, which is a science-based initiative, and she's also the school's tech expert. But duties aside, Ms. G's heartfelt mission is shaping young minds.
The kids bring a lot of joy and happiness into our lives as educators. They come in with smiles. We get to greet them daily. They come in, they're sponges. We love to give them that knowledge and watch them grow.
Ms. G, congratulations. You are WRAL's Teacher of the Week. How about this?
Thank you.
You are welcome. Ken Smith, WRAL News.
Oh, you can tell she loves what she does. Just in case you're wondering, KF is not short for anything. The initials are her first name. If you'd like to nominate a teacher, you can go to WRAL.com and then enter Teacher of the Week in the search box.
Covering Lee County, the Downtown Sanford Street Fest and Fireworks returns this weekend. That'll happen Saturday, and activities kick off at 10 a.m. There will also be a food truck and vendors on Carthage and Steel Streets. The Lee County Community Orchestra will perform at 8:30 p.m. and yes, fireworks will start shortly after. Hey, just in case you forgot it, we'll of course get you an update on weather and traffic coming up in just a bit.